So, Taurus new moon. Now, like I was saying, the Venus entering Gemini is happening Saturday night. The Taurus new moon is happening that following Tuesday. And it is going to be happening around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So, we already have this new energy of Venus sitting over here in Gemini. We've been dealing with it for a couple days. Mercury's already moved its way on past the North Node, so it like rode over. Like I said, we're going to be like really coming into some things that we've been wanting to do. And this is starting to transition past the point of what we've been working into our daily routines, and it's getting closer to what we're bringing into our career, but it's still in this phase where we're learning and where we're wanting to expand our minds and understand more. And for those that have made new friends that really have this connection, what's going to be happening is you guys are all going to be learning together. You're going to be expanding together, because there's this Gemini stellium energy that is going along with this wanting to learn, wanting to explore, very spiritual type energy. And then you have the new moon happening in the same energy, but it's in Taurus. So there's just all of this new, quite literally, that it's like just, it's pretty much like the Three of Wands. If you want to think about tarot, it's like the Three of Wands on crack. And that's pretty much what this energy is. It's just like wanting to know things, and it's wanting to create from what we're learning and what we know, and just like really wanting to ground some of these things, because Taurus is all about bringing stuff down to the physical world and possibly finding a way to make some money out of it. So there's definitely this opportunity that some of these relationships that we start making can turn into very profitable business partnerships, because this doesn't just have to be romantic coming in, it doesn't just have to be friends coming in, this can quite literally be business. This could be getting a new boss or a new mentor, a new teacher that shows you a way to make money, that helps you network, or possibly puts you out somewhere because they have a platform or something that really helps you and gets you ahead. This is also that energy where it's getting a little easier, unlike how it was a few days prior to this, like over the weekend. This coming up new moon's gonna feel a little easier because Chiron is chilling out a little bit. I mean, it's still doing its thing with Mars. Like, that's not gonna stop for a bit because Mars moves slow and we're gonna be dealing with it. But having all these Gemini placements making sextiles to this Chiron energy is making it to where we can kind of talk a little more, like we can express ourselves, and some of these friendships that we're making are literally showing us how to communicate pain and how to talk about it in a more healthy way. It's also making it to where Saturn is actually having a little more of an open energy for talking as well. So anything that really got brought up, possibly if people did lose their tempers, this would probably be the time where things can kind of start like mellowing out, like a breather. This isn't saying it's gonna go away. This is like literally a breather. The energy might feel a little calmer, even though it's a new moon, because it's going to be focused more on learning and creating and like finding new avenues in which to make money. And like I said, there's still that feeling of emotion happening here. And this is the inconjunct I was talking about that was going to form, and I guess it wanted to start forming on the new moon. So if you guys have any placements in Sagittarius that are from 11 to 15, no, I would say just 11 to 13 degrees, because it needs to be within 2. You guys are going to be having this yod point going to Mars, which is going to be heading from your Sagittarius placement and from the Aquarius energy. If you have Aquarius around 13 degrees, it's going to be doing the same thing over here too. But if it's forming a yod towards Mars, your emotions and what you choose to do with them are going to be majorly highlighted. If this is happening for you, it could be that you guys actually come into some really great creative energy that helps you career-wise. And since this is a rapid transit, it's almost like a window of opportunity, especially like dealing with career. This is also trying to see. Because if it's going there, if you have Virgo placements, like I said, the same thing, pretty much 11 to 13 degrees. You're going to be having one pointing towards Saturn. That energy is going to be different than having the Mars one. If you have placements in both of these degrees, then yes, you're having both of these. It's not like separate from each other, but I like giving you guys like heads up on degrees when this happens, because usually you can make a lot out of these transits when it's a yod, because it's a lot of just energy shoved into probably about a couple days if it's fast moving transits. Mars might give you a little more time because it moves a little slower than say like Mercury or Venus, or even the moon and the sun, because those move rapidly as well. But once it moves out of 15 degrees, it's like not going to be part of making this anymore. But like I was saying, if you have Virgo and it's within those degrees, it's going to be pointing at Saturn. And what that's going to be highlighting is a lot of things dealing with structure and restriction for those that are having this, especially if you're having a Saturn return right now, which means your natal Saturn is in Aquarius. You're going to be getting your return highlighted, because this energy, especially if you have a Virgo placement like I was saying, is going to be making a yod to the area where you're having a return. It's going to bring in possibly very heavy lessons coming from dealing with, your career, dealing with the way you view yourself and your own subconscious, and then what you're actually doing ego-wise. This could be a big feeling of ego death for some of those, especially if you're in your Saturn return, because that tends to be what happens in Saturn returns, is we get thrown through so much stuff that we literally shed who we were of the 30 years before, because we realize that really doesn't fit our identity. And it can feel like an identity crisis, but it's just getting rid of the things that really are harmful to us and aren't helping us in any sense. But if you're having this happen, there can be a few things. One, you could get, once again, some creative inspiration, but this is going to be more from healing the inner child than like doing things like out in career. It's going to be being able to explore, like, literally exploring this healing that's happening here, and allowing yourself to, especially if there's a lot of like heavy masculine energy that really made it to where you feel like you can't go after your dreams. This is going to be like needing to heal through and restructure this. And it's getting a positive aspect with this sextile between Chiron and Saturn. So it's like it's trying to help, even though it's going to feel very heavy. For some people, it can quite literally be becoming a father, because this is the house of children. And the moon is literally squaring Saturn. So like I was saying before, I feel like some of that energy from Saturday with Venus moving into Gemini is going to be carrying over here. If this is still the partnership where people were not wanting kids and they got kids as a surprise, obviously tensions are still going to be like, what the hell? If that was for you getting the random thing. For some of you, it could be literally random divorce. because we got Uranus chilling up here in this house of endings, and it does whatever the hell it wants. Um, Especially where it's like concerning our security and our money. I do want to say this can possibly indicate very heavy grieving, especially since the degrees are so tight between both Mars, Uranus, and Chiron, like all being 11 degrees, very spiritual energy, and bringing in relationships and eighth house matters, as well as like children and parents and all this kind of energy. Some people definitely possibly could be losing someone that they really care about that brings in inheritance. And this isn't going to be easy. It's definitely going to cause a very deep wound in some people. It might pull some people apart over how people react to this. But I feel like for some it really is going to be unexpected. It might even have like some sudden like changes in career, literally because of outbursts. It could be like suddenly losing a job. Because I mean Uranus is so unpredictable, and it's not necessarily like Jupiter a lot of times, where Jupiter will be benevolent and give things to help us. Sometimes like especially mixing in with Saturn, Uranus can bring in stuff to help us, but it's in the form of ripping things away. If you want to think of Uranus, especially like with 8th house energy, you can kind of compare it to how people talk about Moldavite being the transformation stone. Things that do not fit for you get just chunked out of your life, and if you haven't been working on it, it feels like your whole life's falling apart. This is that kind of energy. So obviously very unexpected news in that area, but this is something that has a solid foundation that's breaking up for the better, even though for some people it's going to be very hard because it's going to be filled with grief, and grieving the loss of a loved one. But at the same time, there are, like I said, new relationships coming in, because where there are endings, there are beginnings. And I feel like for some of you that get new friends or new relationships in your lives that you really click with, this might be what happens, because something else leaves. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be literal death, though for some I think it might be with how this is looking. But for others, this can be, like I said, either death of identity, ego. It can also be the ending of relationships that look like they would never end, especially from the outside, because 10th house is public image. It's not just career. So this could literally be that there are couples that people never saw as having problems, and then all of a sudden they are divorced. And it's like, what? Like, it makes no sense at all. And that's because there was stuff going on behind the scenes that no one knew about. So obviously the public persona is going to look different than what was actually hidden, because 8th house is hidden knowledge. So it's not, and we might not necessarily even know why it happened. It just freaking happened. And it's what we're dealing with, whether this is like our own personal circles, or it's like dealing with people that are famous. It's just that kind of energy. Also, we have Neptune over here still mixing in and doing some stuff. So this time Neptune is mixing in, like it kind of moved on a little bit from Uranus, and it decides it wants to now sextile this new moon, which, like I was saying before, Neptune is a spectrum over here. It can be great unconditional love energy that can help you with understanding yourself and other people. Or it can be falling back into really bad habits, addictions, codependency. And it's like the thing is, the imagination can run wild with this energy. And one thing I really want to point out is just how much of a teeter-totter this Uranus energy is, because it's wanting us to have this very thin veil between our relationships and our routine, our boundaries, like all this kind of stuff. So it's like, be very careful with people coming in and trying to make you give up yourself and your time in order to be accepted for something. Because this is a definite test of that. You're going to be having people coming in pretty much like constantly, mirroring things to you to see if you're comfortable or if you're going to allow it. This energy is building. We're probably already feeling it, to be honest, because we're only like so many days away from this new moon. And Sunday's energy isn't gonna, okay, like, we're definitely feeling this build. Like I said, this has been building up for a while. We've been shown that we need to be sitting down and we need to be grounding ourselves. I have been saying this for months. If you've been creating what you need in this, and you've created your space, you've created where you feel safe, like it's where you can go when things get hectic, then this energy is actually going to be very productive for you. You're going to be able to create in it. More than likely, you're going to be able to meet people that help you network. If you have been having trouble networking like since forever, it's almost like things start opening up for those that have been doing that. If you haven't, then either you're going to be forced to sit down and learn how to do it, or if you completely fight it, then you're going to be one of those people that people are dropping, like just completely like cutting off, because they're not going to be able to deal with your energy. Now, if you're allowing yourself to be placed in toxic energy like this when you could be having boundaries up, that's also a choice you're making, and you have to be aware of it, otherwise you can't stop it. So if anyone's new to it and doesn't know where the hell to start, a good place to start is literally just being aware of how you allow people to treat you in relationships. Take out any feelings of what you feel you deserve or don't deserve, anything like that. Purely observe how people treat you. Like, how often do they contact you? Why do they contact you? Do they check in on you? Do they only contact you when they need something? Are they constantly dumping on you? Do they care about what's going on in your life? It's like, you need to like step back and observe, because a lot of times the reason we allow things is simply because we feel we deserve it, or we feel like we don't know anything else, or we have the fear of being alone. This energy is trying to show you that no, you're not going to be alone. If anything, whenever you end something, something new is going to come in right away with how rapid this energy is. And it's going to have a very light, fun energy to it. But if you're in circles where you're just gossiping, it's like that saying where it's like people that speak about other people have small minds. People that talk about events, it's, I guess that's normal. I can't remember the saying, but then there's the people that talk about ideas and broader things and like being visionaries, and those are the geniuses that just kind of like, instead of being stuck in the box, it's like they want to expand and they want to learn. And this energy is very conducive to that. This is pretty much saying, like, by all means, go for it. Have fun in this energy. So if you're feeling very light in this energy, possibly you come out of feeling very heavy, and you're able to express and communicate and have more fun, especially if other people are really, like, losing their shit. Remember that it's not your responsibility to babysit other people, because having this kind of energy definitely can lend to people acting like little kids and having tantrums, and it's not your responsibility to sit there and try to babysit a grown person when they need to have their shit together. And that's like another big boundary that needs to happen here, because if you're a very giving person and you're always just giving your energy to other people and you always feel sick, you always have pain, you're just dealing with constant depression and anxiety and all these things, this is going to be really expanded. This is the energy that is going to be taking up your life, and it's going to have a direct effect on your health, and it's going to get worse. So this is kind of trying to show you, do you respect yourself enough to take care of yourself? For those that are trying to learn how to do this, that's going to be the harsh reality, like kind of smacked in the face. But like I said, a lot's coming in with this. For those that have been working on it, or at least becoming aware, this could be a really good time for meeting new people, networking, and making some new avenues for money, or possibly starting a new job that is very fulfilling emotionally, and also financially. But this comes from having done a lot of hard work and like built up a lot of karma from doing all the hard work, and it being poured back into everything that you're doing. So I think that's everything that I'm seeing for the Taurus new moon.